My name's Carole Doyle. I've been married to a Vietnam veteran for 50 years this November. My husband was a national service and PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder or sometimes can be called neurosis is from things that have happened to him out in the jungle or what he's seen. We didn't realise there was anything wrong when he first came home. It usually doesn't get diagnosed till 20 years later. They can't settle. My husband had a good job when he came back, but he couldn't work there anymore because it was inside. He couldn't be inside anywhere. He had trouble talking to people. He couldn't fit in with his family or friends anymore. Social functions weren't very good. I couldn't say, get up in the morning and say, oh, it's a nice day, let's go for a drive. He would immediately say no, even if he wanted to go. You had to tell him things a few days beforehand. So some of the symptoms are, for 50 years, I've known him 52 years this month. You can't pick where you sit in a restaurant. As soon as you go somewhere, he wants his back to the wall and he likes to see who's coming and going so that he knows there's an exit if he needs to go out there, and he's watching everybody the whole time. He couldn't have a helicopter fly over the house. It would put him in a spin. It's the anxiety, high arousal all the time. They can have like an enemy. I used to say to my husband, I'm not a Vietnam veteran, I'm just a mother with children. The children have to walk on eggshells sometimes. They can fly in a rage very, very quickly. Some of them self-medicate. I'm lucky my husband didn't do that. They have problems with gambling, too much drinking. You'll find a lot of them will socialise when they first come home with other Vietnam veterans because they feel welcome there. They don't have to explain everything. When they first come home, they don't fit into their old mates because they haven't got anything in common anymore. I'm going to get emotional telling you this because this is probably what started Joe's PTSD when he first came home. His father was in World War II, and when Joe came home, he said, come on, son, we'll join you up at the RSL. And he walked in with his dad. And they said, come back when you've been in a real war. And he felt like he'd helped his country. He was a national serviceman. And the ironic thing is, he was Irish. Came out for a new start with his family. 8 brothers and sisters, and he got called up because he was a British subject. Thought he was doing the right thing for his new country, and people used to call them baby killers.
Oh no.
Sometimes they would go somewhere, they weren't allowed to wear their uniform. When they came off the planes, they were told not to wear their uniform or anything like that because people would yell at them. And I know one guy got blood choked over him. They didn't get a welcome home parade till years and years later. So it was very hurt for them because he was made to go. He went and thought he did the right thing for his country and he was giving back. And then all of a sudden the people that he thought he was helping and doing the right thing for shunned him. Joe was a very good father. And his 2 sons adore him and very proud. They have marched with him every year, and now our 2 grandsons also march. They wear his medals. I don't think we've missed one Anzac Day.
My name's Heather Evans. I'm the National President of the Partners of Veterans Association. My husband's name is Cliff, and we've been married for just on 50 years. When men came home from the Second World War, my dad was a Second World War veteran, all my uncles were. Everyone that wasn't unfit or had a special job that they couldn't be spared from went into service. The ones that didn't were the ones that were perhaps looked at a little bit unusually. And it was the total opposite with a Vietnam veteran. The Vietnam veteran that went was looked on as the bit of a deal. You know, that he was the one, no one else was going unless they were conscripted. And the number of people that have come up to me later and said, gee, I wish I had have gone, and I feel like saying we could have walked down to Vic Barracks and signed up, mate. But I think that to me is the difference, the respect accorded to the World War II veteran, which was, you know, totally justified, was not given to the Vietnam veteran. He was in Vietnam from 1966, Christmas, till 1967. He was in 9 Squadron. I don't really know what he did because he still doesn't speak about it. He's very proud over the last few years, since our sons and daughter were old enough to understand what Anzac Day and Veterans Day means to an ex-serviceman. He's got that sense of pride from their appreciation. But our children didn't know he even went to Vietnam till they were in probably grade 6 and 5, the 2 eldest children. There was an argument over who was wearing my father's medals on Anzac Day, and I said, why don't you wear your father's? They'd had no idea. My husband and I went out for years before he went. I thought he was beautiful. And when I was a young girl, and the man that came home was in no way the same person. The beautiful blue eyes were the same, but what they saw, I got no idea. And it's taken since our children all got married and left home for us to just be on our own, to sort of sort out something that makes us both happy.